7:05, members present. I'd like to welcome Roger to the Board of Selectmen. It's great to have you here. And for the rest of you, this is Roger Phillips, if you don't already know him, and I think you all do.
Welcome, Roger.
Hey, Bill.
Welcome to the fray. Hear from the public? Comments from the public?
Just to say hello to Roger, and I hope everybody's staying warm.
Thank you. Okay, in terms of briefing, we don't have a briefing. I do have some notes that I will add to the agenda items that we have as we go through, some clarifications. Hear from boards, commissions, committees. Having none others here, I think we can move on. Acceptance of minutes of regular meeting of November 16th.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then Roger, you're abstaining, I'm assuming, because you weren't at that meeting. And then we have approved the minutes of the special meeting of November 24th.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And an abstention for Roger. Okay, old business, review and discuss Town of Ashford COVID-19 policy. As we discussed in the last meeting, the policy was sent out. I think, Bill, you were going to take another look at it, but in the meantime, it was fine for me to go ahead and implement it. They were things like return to work based upon COVID situations, that kind of thing. So that's been put in place. What we do have as well is we have been looking at the, what do you want to call it? Office opening strategy, starting to work with that. I believe Chris sent both you, Bill, and Roger the documentation about what we really need to look at when we talk about reopening. Were you able to look at that documentation at all?
I took a quick look at it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's something we should be working with, and we have already started working with here in terms of looking at reopening, although we're not opening in the very near future as far as we can tell, especially with such an uptick in cases. We do need to make sure we've got a strategy laid out and put it out in writing as to how we're going about it. Does that make sense to the two of you?
Yep.
It does.
But rather than just kind of reinventing the wheel, I went to the town of Mansfield,
Good.
and they already have a whole policy with their setup for their situation over there.
Very good. Theirs is going to be, part of it, I would expect, is based upon how their buildings are structured in terms of being
Yep.
able to do any social distancing and things like that. Yeah, we
But
have
rather
some,
than trying to reinvent the wheel, I mean, if there's some existing policies that are out there, I think we should jump on them.
excellent. We had also looked at, I believe, the town of Windsor for what they have, for how they're managing some of their COVID. So, very good. Thank you. We'll refer to that. Okay. The new business tax refunds?
None.
Cool. Discuss approval of Natchog River Basin Conservation Compact Memorandum of Understanding that was given at the Board of Selectmen meeting in October 19th, 2020. I don't know about you, Bill, but I haven't heard enough concrete information about that to agree to that memorandum of understanding.
I feel the same way. The last time we talked about this at our last meeting, they were going to be sending you the complete MOU and all the backup doc. Did you get that?
I did not get what the full plan was. I want to see the full plan to go with the memorandum of understanding.
I agree, and I'm not going to approve anything without us seeing all of the documentation.
It actually boggles my mind that
Oh,
there would be a thinking that we would approve it without the plan.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we'll move on and we'll leave that. What I'd like to do is leave that off of the agendas until we have something concrete coming back.
I'll leave that to your discretion.
Thank you, sir. Reappointment of Animal Control Officer Christine Abakoff and Assistant Animal Control Officers Tina Benheimer and Samantha Fagan. Chris, can you speak to this? This is nothing more than continuing with what we have.
Right. Everybody is qualified by the state regulations that were put into effect last year as far as training. And everybody's doing a good job. When you need help, everybody's there. So I
Yeah.
strongly recommend their reappointments.
And I have met with both of them as well.
I'll move the reappointment of all three with many thanks.
I'll second that. And Rod, all in favor? The three of us? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Discuss formation of Capital Projects Review Committee. It's time to bring that committee back to into being. And our Capital Projects Committee has traditionally been comprised of a representative from the Fire Department, the Board of Education, Public Works, the Board of Finance, and the First Selectman. Shall we reinstitute that committee?
I have no issue with that. I think it's worked in the past and it seems like a good formula.
All right. And I would expect that we're going to need to get them all together very, very soon. So Chris, did we have any names that went with any of these people, or are we just going to do reach outs to the different departments?
We usually do reach outs. Joey is a given. Chuck is usually a given unless he wants to appoint somebody else.
Yeah,
You know, the fire department is usually Wayne, and the last one from the Board of Education, I believe, was John Calarese,
who's no longer on the board.
who's no longer on the board, so they'll have to come up with somebody.
All right, how about if I'll do reach outs this week?
Yeah, Catherine, if I can make a suggestion, I think they do it anyway, but we may want to formalize it a little. If they could all give us like their number one person with a backup and the
Good.
name of that backup, I think that'd be helpful to everybody. And when we're noticing everybody on a meeting, whatever, we can do everybody at one time.
Okay. In the past, have we had the superintendent of the school as the Board of Eds rep, or was it just John Calarese?
No, it's usually, the superintendent is the one that usually submits the requests.
Yeah,
So he does not, he'll come to the meeting to explain the requests if needed.
all right. Okay, thank you.
I don't ever remember him at one of our meetings. He may have come to an initial one.
And I'm not sure if you're aware, they did not, he is retiring
I heard.
at the end of the school year. Okay, so we'll do that. Thank you. We don't need a motion for this, is that correct,
Right.
Chris? I didn't
No.
think so. All right. Discuss reactivation of the Transfer Station Committee, Study Committee. Our costs continue to go up there. I think that we do have some changes that need to be made. So what I suggest is that we reactivate the Transfer Station Study Committee. I didn't have a chance to call everybody on this. I do know that Chuck Atkins is certainly willing to serve. I think he doesn't want to act as chair of that committee. Another person who ought to be on that committee is the Transfer Station Supervisor, Charles Bussey, because he knows the ins and outs there very well. He knows who's dumping, who's not, that kind of thing. So,
Catherine, as you remember, we talked about this when Mike was still in office and also touched on it with Ralph, and I think it's a good idea. Keith Lipker has expressed an interest in serving again.
good,
No, Tom Welsh has said the same thing to me.
good.
But we've never disbanded the original committee. So I don't know that you have to reform it. You just have to figure out who wants to stay on it and then appoint more.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's important that it doesn't get too numerous in membership because sometimes it becomes unworkable.
Yes,
But I'd certainly entertain, another member or two to it.
thank you. Okay, so we're just going to confirm the people that we've had on it before, and then see if at least Charles Bussey would like, actually, it's my understanding he would like to be on it. So
Makes sense.
if that works for you, you two,
It's fine with me.
great. All right, so we'll do reach outs to them. Approve a change in vendor performing fire alarm monitoring of the town buildings. The town office building, Knowlton Hall Senior Center, and the fire station 20. So currently Talland County Mutual Aid Fire Service is performing the monitoring to town building alarms, the senior center, Knowlton Hall, station, town office building, and senior housing. Talland has advised us it will no longer be able to perform alarm monitoring. It has nothing to do with us. It's just that they're not able to perform that. So we've reached out to Associated Security of East Hartford to perform the service that TN has been providing. We anticipate the cost associated with the changeover will be less than $1,000 for all 4 buildings. Is there any detail, Chris, I know you've been looking at this. Is there any detail you think should be added to this?
After calling around, we had an option. Everybody we talked to gave us an option of either staying with the landlines that we have now or going cellular. And 9 out of 10 departments and TN recommended staying with the landlines, which ends up being a whole lot cheaper. The biggest thing that we have to make sure of is that there are 2 dedicated lines to each building's alarm system. Otherwise, the monitoring cost is the same as TN's. They perform exactly the same service. TN knows them and approves of them. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And we need to get it done because the senior center expires December 31st.
Correct.
So we need to get an alarm monitoring in there before then.
Chris, when we're going with hard wiring and our electrical is out, the electricity fails, does that compromise that network?
It's usually good for 4 days. And you have the same problem if the cell towers go down.
Except when the cell towers go down, they go down.
Right.
So cellular is actually in some ways less reliable, or let's just say it isn't sustained for as long as the landlines are when you have the power outage.
You know,
Paul,
we've never had an
does
issue
the
with the
fire
alarm
department have-
systems going down.
What were you saying, Bill?
I was just asking Paul if he thought the fire department had any input they could give us on that.
I spoke to Wayne about it.
Yeah, the department really has nothing to do with TN other than they're our dispatch center, Bill.
Right.
This issue is completely separate. But I can tell you, as far as a cell versus landline, the landlines are actually still more reliable. If the digital phone lines the batteries deplete, they actually do bring generators to those stations. They don't do that for the cell towers. So that's one benefit to the landline. That actually happened. There was a big issue with that snowstorm in October several years ago. That was part of what they'd figured out with that mess.
Sounds
So,
good. Thanks, Paul. Catherine, I'll make a motion to authorize the first selectman to enter in a new contract.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That looks unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Approve change in vendor performing, oh, we already did that, sorry. Assessor's recommendation on award of revaluation contract. So we have worked through everything with that contract. There is one thing, let me clarify for you. So originally, the contract that we had for 2016 through 2020 was, when all is said and done, was $58,344. That was through NECOG. So NECOG negotiated a new contract, and they did it with Vision. And Bill, I know you've heard about this before because we talked about it before during a Board of Selectmen meeting. So with that contract, it's $60,315 for the 5 years in total, for the total contract, to be paid over 3 years. The unfortunately, we don't have a lot of confidence in Vision. We converted from Vision software to Equality software. We started in April and cut over in June. Vision did, and this is the software we have, is the Equality software. Vision, even when talking with the NECOG contract about that, their RFP, they didn't know how to set up the cost models in the Equality software. So they would be having to learn all of that. And so our assessor doesn't have a lot of confidence in the fact that they weren't able to do that correctly. They were actually doing it for another town and didn't get it done right. They had to actually call in Equality. And in fact, I believe we called in Equality when we were doing the conversion. So, and it's Eastford and Thompson have elected not to go into the NECOG contract, and they're going with Equality. And one of the things that's an advantage with Equality is it integrates well. So it literally bridging files, so you don't have to do double entry, those kinds of things. And basically information can go right from the from the assessor to the tax department without having to do multiple file entries. So there's some real advantages to it. So Equality's contract is in total is $59,840 or $475 less than what NECOG was talking. In addition, the payment plan normally is to pay that amount over a period of 2 years, not the 3 years like the NECOG one's talking about. So we don't have enough money in our plan, our capital plan, to pay them bear with me, the $26,995 in full in this fiscal year. And by the way, the reval needs to start in January. Okay, so time is of the essence on this. That's why we've been pressing. So the way the payments could work, and it's been talked through with Equality, is we could pay, bear with me, just want to make sure I got my numbers right here. We have $15,000 remaining in the annual payment to NECOG for this year. And we have $1,650 remaining in the Vision software conversion that we didn't use. So if we were to put that together, we could pay Equality $16,650 this year, and then make up the difference of the $10,345 in the next fiscal year, along with the payment of $32,945, which would be the second full payment. I talked with Chuck Funk about this, and if the fact is, it's great that Equality would be willing to let us wait on this. Again, the total amount is actually less than what we are paying for the Vision software, or the Vision support. So when I talked to Chuck today, and I told him I'd like to come before the Board of Finance on Thursday. And I told him about this situation. He was personally keen on yes, let's pay the $16,000 this year, and let's the $10,000 that's left over, yes, we put it into the next year along with the remaining $32,945. So that was his thinking, but I need to take that information to the full Board of Finance so that they can all look at it and make sure that that works for them. If that is the case, then what I would like to do is if I have their approval, or whatever you want to call it, at that point, I'd like to sign the contract so we can get to work on getting this reval started.
Quick question, Catherine. If we were to pay them the typical normal amount, how much we be short as compared into this year's budget?
It would be 10,345.
We would be short.
It would be short in the capital improvement budget, the line item for that, with what we also have for that $1,600. So, you know, we could, there's two things we could do. We could go to the Board of Finance and say we need another 10,345 in this year's capital improvement budget to pay that company Equality in full for this year. Or we can do the other. I brought both of those forth to Chuck. Chuck said he really thought that the second option was better, but that's up to the entire board to decide. So it's one or the other. Bottom line is we do need a contract. And this looks to be the better deal than the other one.
Do we have any idea, Catherine, where we are on our other expenditures on the capital budget this year?
I haven't looked at it in detail. I looked at this in particular. So I don't,
I mean, I could live with either way you're talking about. My preference is because next year's budget, both with the state and I know it's going to come down to us here on the town level, is kind of an unknown with what expenses. And if we had a method of paying it this year instead of pushing an extra cost on, that would be my preference. And I'm thinking if we have a balance of unexpended money in that capital fund right now, let's pay it from that and then address the overage with the Board of Finance, you know, to make an adjustment at the end of the year.
how about this? How about if I bring that forth to them too? So there's really three options.
I'll try to tune in on and be at the meeting on Thursday,
Sure.
but just for our discussions, that would be my preference. I would prefer not pushing things off to next year
Yeah.
at this point any more than we know there's a possible hit coming up.
I understand. That was my original thought as well. So I think the thing is that we don't know yet with the other capital improvement. I mean, we're only halfway through the year, not even
Yeah.
halfway.
Yeah.
So and typically we don't spend all of that money up front. But typically it really gets spent more in the second half of the fiscal year.
Well, as you know, I guess on the other side of that, if we didn't have the money from that fund to make up the difference, the Board of Finance, as long as it's under 20,000, could appropriate
That was, yes.
the difference.
Yeah, the
And-
first thought was appropriate it. Okay, that difference, pay it now. By
Yeah.
the way, we do need to pay now. So it's
Yeah.
not like we can continue to put it off for any length of time.
And we did anticipate a cost. We just didn't anticipate the difference or the two different ways of methods.
Yeah, that we didn't anticipate that we would have to go down to a
And two
two-year payment
payments
plan,
Instead of three.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was pretty,
I'll
I
make a
thought,
motion to authorize the first selectman to go to the Board of Finance with the two alternatives. And if you'll indicate, I'm not sure how Roger feels about it, but my preference would be, let's call it the first method we're talking about. And making an appropriation this year instead of pushing it off for next year.
do we have a second?
I second it. I think those,
Okay, and just to be clear, the two options are to pay it now in full for the year. And the second is to pay it
with the balance of money we have and then include,
with that balance in the upcoming fiscal
Yeah.
year. Very good. Anything else about that?
I'll move the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Act on approval of the 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting calendar. Have you two had a chance to review it?
Chris, where was it? I didn't see it in what I got. Did I just miss it? I mean, I'm assuming I have no problem with it, but I was looking for it in my emails. I couldn't find it.
I didn't
I
see it. either.
finished it on Friday. I may have forgotten to send it.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
Yes.
assuming you ladies have not made any mistakes on it, I'll move the schedule
Don't-
as presented.
Don't be a wise guy. I had two people check it.
Okay.
yeah, we were watching it. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, do we have a second on that?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Chris, thank you for putting that together.
You're welcome.
Discuss the status of land use clerk. The, I did check references for our, as we looked at this and got very good feedback, just so you know. No negative feedback. The, if we are prepared to go ahead and offer the position, the offeree will be advised of the relationship with the union and the fact that we will require a negative result of COVID test prior to her beginning work for the town. So, gentlemen,
I'm comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Roger, actually, unfortunately, Roger, you don't get to vote on this one. You were not part of the
Okay.
interviewing process, now that I think about it. But we do have a very good candidate. So we're not going to put the name out there right now because we want to do a more formal thing with that candidate before we do that.
Yeah, I think you have to offer the job first too.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to move ahead with that. And I don't think we need a motion for that, correct? Or do we?
I'll make the motion just so we have it on record.
Okay, I'll second that. That we move ahead with the one selected by the committee.
Let's call her candidate A.
Yes. Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Probably should be noted as one abstention.
Yeah, Roger's an abstention. And, okay, and now we're ready to go into executive session to discuss possible litigation. So, Michael, can you take us into
Yep. Who's going?
just the three, Selectmen and Chris?
Okay, one sec.
Hi, Paul.
Bye, Paul.
Bye, Paul. Bye, Cheryl.
You speak.
Or Sherry, actually. Oh, no, that's
Oh,
Roger's
Paul-
phone.
Paul trying to say something?
Yeah, sorry. I'll just go and then you guys, then he doesn't have to monkey with it. So,
No,
because,
we still have to. Yeah,
all right,
it's gonna take us into
So-
the breakout room.
all right. Have a good couple weeks and we'll see you before the holiday.
Yes,
Stay
you
warm,
are.
Paul.
Yeah, you too. All right, bye-bye. If I can figure out how to leave now. There it is.
Christine, are you going in?
I'm staying.
Oh, I thought she said you were going in.
No, I think she said I was staying.
Oh, okay.
So where am I?
You're just here in the regular meeting.
I lost everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else left and they're in the executive session.
I'm in the executive session.
You have to join it. I invited you.
How do I do that? What do I do, Mike?
You should have a button that should allow you to join it. Should have gotten an invitation.
No. It says I can join the breakout room from here.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Shush.
Boy, I bet my husband would love that feature.
Mm.
Where I'm automatically muted. Okay, so I just wanted to say, Chris, I have some remarks for the good of the board. Does anybody else? Bill, you're muted. You have to go down to the, yeah, down to your little left-hand corner there. Okay, now
Hear
you're.
me now?
Yeah. So my remarks for the good of the board are to say I'm delighted to have Roger join us, and that I think the three of us will make a great team. And also, yes, that's enough.
We had just a quick question, Catherine. I know we had what, over 400 homes that were out of electricity for a while
Oh, I can tell you about that.
yesterday. Could you just update us a little? I did monitor it through EverSource, but
Very good. Well, I can tell you that EverSource was great to work with this time. I had worked with him on the last, Jonathan from EverSource on the last storm, and another gentleman, I think his name's Alex. And I had talked with him before and said, you know, we really need to have better communications. They need to be targeted to Ashford. I don't need to see the broader picture to understand what's going on here. It's really, that's where our focus is. What happened was, and I think the storm was not a terrible, terrible storm. It was not fun, but it wasn't terrible. But what did happen is we had 31% outage in the afternoon on Saturday. We had, by 7:30 at night, it was down to 7% outage. There had been a main, basically there was something that happened in another location outside of town that caused much of the outage, particularly along the Willington, the northern end of our town. It affected Stafford, it affected Tolland, and it affected us. I don't know if it affected Willington. I know Willington had a terrible amount of outage in their town, but I wasn't following theirs as closely. Then we had something that was part of the outage for that remaining 7% was on the Willington Tolland, Willington Ashford line, right up the border of it. They had 5 crews in Ashford at that time. They had 12 in Willington, and got that solved by basically, they said it would be handled before morning, and it was. They also said that we would have be down to 1% outage by the morning, which was true. It was less than 1%. We had 3 homes that still had an outage. And in fact, I got a call from the EverSource guy saying, we're trying to reach this one homeowner, and that person has a generator running and it's backing up into the line. And that's why we're unable to make any repairs there. It was actually an on-property situation. All 3 of them were. And so I managed to get a hold of that homeowner, and that was taken care of. So the service, the power, not only did the EverSource do a great job, our people that were plowing did a great job. They were there were some trees that had come down, a few here in town that were taken care of, and there were, I guess, a lot of trees that came down in bear with me, Bevington. Bevington goes into Chaplin, correct?
Yes.
They came down on the Chaplin side, a whole passel of trees. So there were issues over there, but we were really focused on what was going on in our town, and I think they did a great job. I think our town crew, our road crew, did a really nice job too, and I'm sure our fire department was doing just fine as well.
Yeah, I noticed, while I was monitoring our town, I was keeping an eye on Stafford and Wellington. They
Yeah.
seem to get hit worse than we did. We had a few strong wind bursts, I'd call them, come through here. Some
Right.
small branches come down, but
Yeah.
we're in that area of Bennington, not far away from it. And they're a little higher in elevation than we are.
Well, we live on the Willington, Ashford line, so to
Yeah.
speak. We live on Seacar Road.
Yeah.
And Seacar Road got its power back at 11:45 at night.
Wow.
Exactly. Because it was just at the time when my husband had taken the generator that we have, which is not an entire house generator. We have it hooked to certain things. And he
Yeah.
had run lines up to the third level of our house. So the lights would be on in the bedroom and all of that. Right when he did that, the power came on.
Of course, never fails.
So,
Well, that's good. I'm glad it worked out well.
yeah, it did work out well. And it was nice to be able to tell Eversource, you did a great job this time. So hopefully they'll continue working well with us.
Great.
Yeah.
Roger, I'd also like to again welcome you to the board and look forward to working with you. Your dad and I consider it dear friends. We were on opposite sides of the political spectrum and had several fights at town meetings or arguments. But,
Nothing physical. I was nothing physical.
Never physical, but we always considered each other close friends, and I miss them and think of them dear quite frequently.
I do too. Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much.
So, okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Roger, we'll let you make a motion there.
I make the motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a great evening. See you in a couple weeks.
You
All
too,
right.
folks.
Take care.
Thank you.